Transformative Education 2023. This is Research 2, and we will have Dr. Peter Muchemi, a lecturer from the Bomet University College in Kenya, to share on the topic School Managers and Teachers' Awareness of Students' Mental Health Challenges and Their Management. For participants, if you would like to pose a question, please drop it in the Q&A box. And I will pass the time now to Dr. Peter Muchemi.
Okay, thank you very much, Yang, for the nice introduction. I am actually interested with this area of mental health issues among students because one, I am a trainer and I'm also a practitioner in matters to do with mental health. And out of my experiences with students and, of course, members of the public, I noticed that there is need that we look at this matter of how much awareness do our teachers and those who are managing our education institutions have in as far as this issue is concerned. Now, we have really been taken through a lot about social emotional learning, and it appears like there is a big burden that is being placed on teachers. There is a lot of expectation that we have on teachers to be able to deliver on issues to do with emotions, or rather social and emotional learning. So what comes across is how prepared are our teachers in as far as this assignment is concerned. And as I move on, I need to remind, or rather to say it clearly, that my presentation is research based and therefore is more of reviewing of what is available about teachers' awareness on students' mental health issues, and also a sharing of experience, how what I've experienced with at least two or three of my clients, that will be able to justify that we need to do something about what we are training our teachers so that they can be able to deliver on this major objective. Now, from the conference, we are talking a lot about flourishing and planetary flourishing, human flourishing. But the question sometimes is, are we, or are our educators, are the teachers fostering flourishing in schools? Just to revisit the meaning of flourishing, is a person living a good, fulfilling life, a life with a sense of purpose, that so they have the ability to do what they want to do and be what they want to be. And they are committed to building good mental health, physical health, and social health in all areas of their lives. It's having the ability to help their bodies thrive and to use their reason for individual and collective aids. When you look at that meaning, is a big demand, especially bearing in mind the times we are living in. That is what I would expect from my child, leave alone from any other person. I have children in schools and I would expect them that they are able to flourish. But there is need to ask myself, the institutions in which they are learning, are they able, or are the teachers there, or are the school managers there able to foster towards achieving that goal? a very important question that we need to ask ourselves as we continue training our teachers. And indeed, there seems to be a crisis in education relevance where the students are not adequately equipped with the skills that we have continuously stated in this conference. And they have no knowledge of how to thrive or to flourish beyond academics. So, this lack of relevance or this crisis will remain active as long as we don't handle the challenge of mental wellness among our students. So we need to develop, or we need to help students develop skills of self-care, resilience, and mental awareness. A lot of has been said about resilience, but then again to remind ourselves about social emotional learning. When you look at the context of social emotional learning, is a very demanding construct, is a very it's very rich, and that is the expectations we have towards by the aid of an education program that a child should be able to achieve this, teaching children the skills of recognizing and managing emotions, skills for caring and concern for others, and making responsible decisions, and establishing positive relationships. A very rich definition, a very broad expectations. It is skills that allow both children and adults to calm themselves when they are angry, to make friends, and to resolve conflicts respectively, and make ethical choices. Even adults, as we are, we sometimes also contend with how to realize that somebody is getting angry and how to manage that emotion. So it's about, this is what we endeavor, this is what we are looking forward to seeing in the children and adolescents. Social emotional learning provides prerequisite skills necessary for children to be active and successful learners in schools. When we think about a situation like COVID 19 and when it happened, the expectation from social emotional learning is that our children will be able to thrive after such an event, after such an occurrence, after such a phenomenon, that the children will be able to thrive. And hence, the role played by teachers and school leaders in social emotional learning must be championed as envisaged by UNESCO. Teachers are important. And indeed, yesterday, one of the presenters reminded us perhaps the reason why teachers need to be remunerated well over and above other careers. The question again here arises, what is the teacher and school head's capacity and preparedness to foster mental wellness and equip students with the skills to thrive and flourish in a life in an interconnected world? And when you mention interconnected world again, uh, comes in the issues of artificial intelligence and what is happening, even what we are doing right now here, that we can be able to communicate with each other from a distance. Our youngsters are online also. They are in all online platforms. And in the platforms, there is an implication on emotions. There is an implication on mental health. And somebody reminded us about cyberbullying, a lot of it. How do we equip them with the ability to manage these emotions in modern world? Because we are talking about a world with wars, political violence, gender-based violence, terrorism, economic crisis, disasters, a lot of child abuse. I didn't want to present that photo there, but I felt like it's needed that we feel the pinch of child abuse. So these are significant, and they have significant impact on mental wellness among children and adolescents. And they sometimes cause permanent marks. For example, post traumatic stress disorder. Our children need resilience. Sometimes we misinterpret children's mental health needs, and we look at it like these children are at developmental stage, and their mental health issues will resolve themselves as they mature up. You can look at that, and the argument is this disorder, this condition will resolve itself with the time as the child grows up. Eventually, it doesn't, and it becomes permanent to the child's life. And when we fail to address these mental health issues in childhood, they will manifest in uh, adulthood. And we all know that children are very vulnerable. They will suffer stigma. And as they suffer stigma, it makes the mental health issue problem even bigger. To pick a little bit, and want to remind you that I said I'll pick a little bit of literature. The prevalence. Do we really have a problem with mental health as it is now? The prevalence of mental health problems is 10 to 12% globally, and this rises with the socio-economic disadvantage. Different regions have their own different challenges and are going to contribute to mental health. And we are saying 1 in 7, 10 to 19-year old, they experience mental health disorder. It has been noted that depression, anxiety, and behavioral disorders are leading causes of illness and disability among adolescents. So there is high prevalence of these conditions: depression, anxiety, emotional disorders. They are all prevalent. They are all labeled there: EBD, autism, dyslexia, anxiety disorders. They are prevalent. And they are prevalent in a situation whereby our teachers may not be having the ability to deal with them. And we are asking, why should teachers know about mental health conditions? Because our children are in schools, and our schools remain a main avenue for positive development of children. And teachers interact with so many students, sometimes even 100 learners per day. Look at the shift in roles of teachers in students' lives. The traditional academic kind of education seems to be overtaken. It's not now about mathematics, English, and science. There is another hidden curriculum, and that is mental health issues. Teachers play a critical role in developing the ability to note changes and mental health challenges. They have that assignment. They have this assignment to provide a safe, stable, and supportive environment. They are now de facto members of mental health teams. And children are vulnerable. So the teachers need to defend them and to help them voice the challenges they are facing, including the challenges related to mental health. There is violence in the world, different sections, a lot of violence, home based violence. And these children later go to schools and they meet their teachers. The challenge with COVID 19 and the like. It is important that we come to realize that, therefore, teachers need to be helped to understand mental health issues, because even the young people, they depend on adults to define what they are going through. So therefore, teachers need to be helped. What are these gaps that are existing in teacher awareness on mental health conditions? There is gap in knowledge. Teachers don't seem to be knowing what mental health conditions the children go through, so they can't name them. They cannot see their symptoms and be able to identify the conditions. There is gap in disciplining children. When a disciplinary procedure is being carried out on a child, the teachers sometimes they don't consider the mental health status of the pupil. Gaps in assessment. Are a teacher able to do screening of psychological conditions? Continuously, teachers talk about lack of time. They have no time to be able to deliver content on subjects and to offer, for example, mental health intervention services. And teachers are also talking about being ill equipped with guidance and counseling skills. So there is a gap in guidance and counseling skills. And also from the traditional ways of managing discipline. Of course, it is true that a number of children experiencing mental health challenges are likely to be on a crossroad with the educators, with the teachers, with the school managers. And therefore, when carrying out disciplinary actions, there is likely to be child abuse. So there is a gap in the way these mental health conditions are being managed. Sometimes, and I remember the other day I was talking with one of the teachers, and she confessed that corporal punishment is still happening in some countries. This is one of the example. I know the write-up is not very clear, but I think I'll be allowed to share what I have through the email. But this is a student who experienced attention deficit hyperactivity disorder with its symptoms. And she observes that she suffered uh, inability to maintain silence in class, was continuously bored. She lost items, and she would continuously seek permission to visit the washrooms, and therefore finding herself strolling outside the classroom. And this made her to be at a crossroad with the teachers. And she states clearly that she was continuously punished. The form of punishment, as you have heard, may be abusive language or even corporal punishment. The reason this happened is the teachers in the institution had little awareness of dealing with emotional and behavioral disorders manifested by students. One case of that type. At the same time, the child has other complicated symptoms, but there is no educator who is able to invite the student for an interrogation to get to understand what really is happening to this child. Another child suffered PTSD, care of childhood abuse, specifically of the form of sexual abuse. And I'm talking about F1 in this case. And she went through primary school well, but in secondary school, there was a lot of pressure. And this pressure triggered the symptoms of PTSD, including intrusive thoughts, including insomnia in a school where you are supposed, where the core mandate or in their imagination is performance. You must perform. If you don't perform, you don't belong to this school. So she experienced all these symptoms. And eventually, therefore, even after being a religious leader in the organization, she was demoted and eventually suspended from school. A big challenge indeed. Where did this leave her? Fortunately, after counseling, we were able to organize for an individualized learning program, and she was able to pick up again. I'm glad she's about to finish her college life. And then M2 still suffered PTSD. I'm not gonna go to that a lot. But another case was on depression, where the child was suffering depression. The reason is being in a pure girls' school, she was found or she was labeled to have difficulties with sexual orientation, and therefore, in the context of the school she was, that was a significant exit from the norm of the school, and she was therefore suspended, eventually expelled. But she was suffering a lot of self harm, a lot of insomnia, with all the symptoms of depression. I cannot read all of them because of time. But eventually, she was elbowed out of the school. And therefore, the parents, who also eventually became stressed, was forced to look for another organization. Again, a demonstration of inability. And remember, this child had already given the institution a letter of diagnosis that I'm going through depression, but eventually still expelled from the school. Another one is about loss of a student who suffered phobia, anxiety, low self esteem, and therefore is stigmatized and rejected by both the community and the school. These are significant examples of what could be happening in our organizations. My colleague counselor was reminding me the other day that she too is dealing with significant numbers of children going through mental health illnesses who are suffering abuse in school. So what do we say? Mental health awareness is becoming an important part of schools' function and curriculum. And there is low teacher awareness on student mental health issues, and teachers feel overwhelmed by this fact. So, transformative education cannot be achieved without achieving students' mental health. So, what do? We need to build capacity and awareness for teachers to identify and help the affected children in schools. In our training, let's focus on psychology. Let's focus on counseling and counseling skills. Let's focus on changing our curriculums so that they are able to accommodate the aspect of guidance and counseling in schools. Let's increase the resources in teacher training for workshops and seminars specifically on issues to do with mental health. You've been informed, I'm from Bomet University. We have a course called Bachelor of Education with Guidance and Counseling. So we are training our students on teaching subjects, if it is mathematics and biology, but the student is also taking guidance and counseling. And therefore, they go for placement for teaching, and they also go for practicum for counseling services. We are almost inquiring, can we make it, for example, compulsory that in teacher training, counseling or the ability to counsel, the ability to understand mental health and its contents is compulsory in teacher training. So, protecting children and adolescents from adversity, promoting social emotional learning and psychological well being, and ensuring access to mental health care are critical for their health and well being during childhood and adolescent phases for them to flourish. Thank you very much. That's my contact. Thank you very much. Can I have somebody comment? Yes, Yang, are you available with me? Yang, can you take over?
Hello. Okay.
Yang, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I'm through with the presentation. I hope I was heard.
Yes. Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
we would like to take up some questions. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah, I'm available.
Okay. So give me a second. So there's a question from me. So how do you think teachers can build trust with children or adolescents in the process of social emotional learning, especially when it comes to personal and sensitive topics for the children?
Okay, thank you for that question. A very important question. And I think what I have realized in my practice, when somebody is trained in as far as counseling services is concerned, the skills, it is through skills, inbuilt skills, including being non-judgmental, including being confidential, including offering unconditional positive regard. These skills, which are much well trained in counseling practice, they are very important for you to win the trust of the client, in this case, the child. So I would answer that question like training in how to offer counseling services so that you can learn the key skills of being a good helper. Thank you very much. Any other question? What would you be your suggestion on decreasing stigma of mental health topic among teachers and management? How to implement new role of a counselor? Let me start with the second one. How to implement new role of a counselor in tight teacher schedule. And I will start by what we have been learning in this conference, and which we have also been using as counselors also, issues to do with using technology to offer services, so that you can be able to offer services during perhaps sometimes in the normal working time and even outside the normal working time. I understand what you are talking about, the tight schedule of a teacher. It's quite demanding, but sometimes in counseling and in saving lives, it is important to go a mile ahead to help these children. So technology can help. Stigma on mental health topic among teachers. And this reminds me that as much as I am talking about students' mental health status, we need also to ask ourselves about teacher mental health status. Are our teachers also able to deal with their mental health challenges? We need to do a lot of sensitization, create awareness that mental health issues are diseases like any other. Physical diseases are easily understood. When we talk about cancer, for example, people will easily sympathize and empathize with you. But when we talk about a mental health condition, it becomes a challenge. So it's about creating awareness during seminars, workshops, and even on a friendly level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights on how important social emotional learning for students and also the things that teachers could do in this aspect to help students to thrive better. We really appreciate having you in this session, Dr. Peter Muchemi, and all our participants who attended this session today. Looking forward to seeing you all in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Yang. Thank you.
Thank you.